Hey, welcome back. Right Path Real Estate Radio, 713-785-1817. We didn't do a mic check.
No.
So I tell you what, I'm just going to turn him up right where I think you need to go. So
I think we're good.
yeah. So Jerry Ta with Propertycare. It's propertycarehouston.com, 713-489-7653, 713-489-7653. So I had a question from one of our students just recently, and they said, hey, what's the difference between Propertycare and other property management companies? And I'm like, well, with Propertycare, you get Jerry Ta.
Right.
And so how would you answer that question?
Well, I think one way I always answer is that, we do focus on investors. Mm-hmm. And being an investor myself, I know where cash flow's at. Right. And that's why we moved towards a flat fee model. Right. Right. So just because I know that you have a $2,000 rental a month versus a $1,400 rental, your cash flow still may be the same. Right. So that's why we moved to a flat fee model, because we know that. Yeah, because you can be making $400 a month on both of those, right? Right, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but if you do a percentage based on gross rent, a $2,000 rental based on 10% would be $200 versus $85 in our perspective. Right.
And is there really more management on a $2,000 a month rental than there is on a?
And the way we look at it, the answer is no. Is that I think we get a better tenant for the most part. Not always the case, but generally,
I know a lot of investors that do adopt that attitude. They want to buy $300,000 houses that rent for $2,000 a month because they feel like they're going to have a better tenant. Right. And I would argue, I don't know that that's the case. There are some argument to be made that you may experience more appreciation or something like that in the $300,000 house. Than we are not the type of investors where we're looking for only cash flow deals, like go into the hood, buy a $50,000 house that rents for $900 a month, because you're not really ever going to get appreciation, because it was a $50,000 house 10 years ago. It'll be a $50,000 house 10 years from now. You'll never really see appreciation because you don't have the retail market that's driving those prices up. Right. Right. It's always an investor that's your exit strategy. And we like having an exit strategy. One of the things we love about single family, especially versus multifamily, is that you really have two exit strategies if you're ever going to sell a single family house. Mm-hmm. You can sell to an investor if you want, or you can sell to a retail buyer, right? Right. In multifamily, you don't have that. You're always going to sell. You'll never sell to a retail owner-occupant, right? You're always going to sell to another investor. You only have really one exit strategy. And the same thing on lower-end houses. I mean, real low-end houses. Or you could do, some people argue, owner finance, which, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, to answer people's question is that I think at the end of the day, we do a lot of the same things. Right. And I think every company out there wants to probably do a good job and collect rent, put in the best possible tenants, manage repairs in a way that makes sense for the owners. But I think just from my perspective, being an investor myself and knowing where cash flow is at, I try to really focus on making sure that it's a good investment, for you, which helps me in my business. Because if it's not a good investment for you, then what's the point? I mean, why are you in this game? So I understand that, and that's why we try to get investors.
Okay, so in terms of the marketplace itself, what are you seeing? Is there too much supply in rental properties? Is there not enough supply? Is it about equal? What are you seeing in terms of vacancies, things like that?
It's been strange, but right after the break, I think, in January, we leased out almost every single property that we had that was worth anything. Yeah. So we're actually barely have any vacancies at all. So I think in the marketplace right now, it's been great.
Are there some areas that you see that are hotter than others? You wish you had, more inventory in a particular area? Are there areas that you don't really want more inventory, things like that?
I think, the focus on schools is always a big thing. I think areas that has good schools always generally lease a little bit better. Houses that are close to major highways, right? More accessible, always lease a little bit better than neighborhoods that are tucked into really far away from major highways. And that's just always been the case for any and every neighborhood. Today is March 1st, by the way, so I hope everyone knows that rent is due.
Right. Rent is due today.
Rent is due.
Yeah,
not the 3rd.
Right. Rent is not due on the 3rd. It's late on the 3rd, right?
Right.
Okay, so actually it's still on time on the 3rd, right? It's actually late on the 4th. Right. But rent is actually due on the 1st.
Right. Yeah. And then late fees apply
on the 4th.
After the 3rd, on the 4th.
Okay, so what are some things if most of our listeners are investors? So Daniel Vera is asking a question: when a house is vacant, is there still a management fee?
No, there's no vacancy fee. So that's maybe one other thing that we're different from other management companies, that we do not charge a vacancy fee.
So if the landlord's not collecting rent, then y'all aren't collecting a fee.
That's correct.
So you align your goals. I love that, because that means that your goals are perfectly aligned with the investor. And then he also asks, how would Propertycare handle a break-in?
Well, if
call 911, call the police, right?
Right. We call the police, file a police report. We stand there, and there's not really a lot you can do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, I have a story where we had one of the most interesting break-ins. Was that we had a break-in and we could not figure out
how they got in.
Okay. We looked everywhere.
Yeah.
And then finally, it was like they had taken all the copper wires out of the house, and we're like, how did they get in?
Yeah.
And they drilled a small hole right at the window lock.
Yeah.
And then poked it in, and then lifted up the window. But the hole was so small that we didn't see it at first without, really
drilled a hole in the window, or in the
window.
Okay, they drilled a hole in the window.
Yeah.
So through the glass, and you didn't see the hole in the glass.
Yeah, it was just a tiny where you could just put a stick through it to pop the window lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's creative.
Yeah. And actually, I had another situation where they did the same thing, but they ended up breaking the window.
Oh, so they tried to drill it.
I mean, it cracked the bottom, but you can kind of see where.
So they actually took the time to drill, to open up the locks, to be able to open up the window, come out inside, just to rip the copper out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know, it's a lot of labor to rip the copper out of a house. Mm-hmm. And they end up getting somewhere between $20 and $40 for that copper. And it takes about, I've heard, as long as 5 hours. So they're getting somewhere between $4 and $8 an hour.
Right.
And which is not, great return on their time. And, not that criminals like this are real brilliant.
Right. I mean, we've always had discussions where, if someone's going to steal your AC, I would much rather pay him $400 and don't steal my AC, because now you just stole my $3,000 AC unit when I could have just given you $300 if you're going to take it anyways.
Right. Yeah, but if somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to steal this afternoon because I got some free time. I'm going to steal your AC system. Can you just fork over $300?" Would you actually do that?
No, but if you're thinking maybe why don't we just put $300 envelope on the AC unit, hey, don't take the AC, just feel free to take this.
You know what would happen though, right? They're going to take the envelope and then they'll take the AC too, right? Yeah. They'll be hey, thanks for the bonus. Yeah, so then yours would be the first to get stolen. So it's Jerry Top, Propertycare Houston. It's propertycarehouston.com, 713-489-7653, 713-489-7653. So I always like to ask the question of radio show sponsors, what do you see the rookie mistakes that rookies make?
I think people they want a cash flow real quick.
Yeah.
And then you just pick the first tenant with money in their hand and put them in the house.
Yeah.
I'm cash flowing, and then next month you got to file an eviction, and then you got to fix up the house again. Yeah,
Jason did a Facebook Live. He brought his wife in. We swapped out phones. We've just recently swapped from Sprint to Verizon, and so Sarah, Jason's wife, had come in because of the phone swap, right? Mm-hmm. And so they did a Facebook Live together, kind of reminiscing about the early days. And she was in charge of screening tenants back then. We don't do that in house anymore. You handle all of our everybody comes in and says, I'm going to be a great tenant, right? Everybody, when you meet them, they're really nice. They're on their best. It's a little bit like a job interview, right?
Right.
And everybody's on their best behavior when they're trying to get a place. Mm-hmm. But it's not until you get the application, you run everything, you're like, oh, wait, you've been evicted from the last 4 places that you've lived, right? That wouldn't necessarily. So you can't just go on feelings when you're screening tenants. You actually have to have an organized process, right?
Right.
So how many different things do y'all look at when y'all are screening on a tenant? You look at credit, right?
We look at credit, criminal, rental history.
Job history?
Yeah, job history.
Okay.
If how long they've been there, their income. And I wanted to show this. Look at this pay stub that one of my friends got. Look at the website.
What's the website? Oh, stubcreator.com.
This is and she has her own rentals, and it's a website that does fake pay stubs.
Is that right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, this person wasn't smart enough to download the PDF. They took a screenshot of it right off their phone and sent it in.
So they created their own pay stub. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Now, do y'all do bank statement verification, anything like that?
Yeah, we always call the employer.
Okay,
that's the one thing that we do.
Yeah,
and ever since my first one where I had a fake pay stub, and we're like, wow, this is crazy.
They get creative, don't they?
Yeah, they get creative. And when we called them out on it, they didn't even argue. They were like, oh, okay. Like,
okay, yeah. Oh, you really do check.
Yeah.
You know, because what's scary is how many people don't check. That they don't. They just go based on, I know how to judge people. I can read people.
Right.
No, you can't.
No,
you can't.
These people are good.
Yeah. Well, and there's criminals everywhere, right? I mean, we just recently had a theft in our office. Lady, she was in and out in 7 minutes. Took 2 phones off of a desk and had the wallet. Heather, our office manager, had her personal phone and her business phone, and she keeps all of her credit cards and stuff like that with that. Went immediately from here, boom, boom. I mean, they're using the credit cards within 10 minutes of leaving here. Got it on video. They'll probably get caught. We have all the evidence, but yeah, criminals are out there.
Yeah,
they're after your stuff. So Jerry Todd, PropertycareHouston.com. That's PropertycareHouston.com. 713-489-7653. 713-489-7653. Thanks for coming in, man.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Yeah.